Everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday to you. And that's right, it's Tuesday, that's right, yes, yes. We still have these meetings on Tuesdays. Today is Tuesday, October the 4th. It's shortly after the 10 o'clock hour, and we're here at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers. We're calling our meeting to order. And this morning, we will have special recognitions and presentations, I believe, is that right? By the Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council, and I see our good friend, there he is, Mr. Hanna, Kevin Hanna. All right, Mr. Hanna, come on up.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody in the crowd and commissioners. It's my pleasure and honor to address the board here this morning. And before I say anything else, I want to thank you all personally, individually, for your individual and collective support of CREDC over the past year or so. As you know, I started at CREDC in mid-July of last year, so it's been about a year and a half since I've been here, and I can't be more pleased with the support that I've gotten from each of you and all of you. So with that, if you'll turn your attention, I guess, to the screen, we'll jump right into the presentation. Let me, before I get started, or with the first slide, I don't have the clicker, so.
Yes, Mr. Hanna, if you'll just say when you want the slide advanced, the PR
Absolutely.
team will advance it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Next slide. The CREDC board at the beginning, towards the beginning of this year, got together and decided, and I think wisely so, to set certain goals for me and CREDC and what we're looking to do in 2022. Next slide. Those goals are listed above, and I'm going to go through them quickly, but I do want you to know what they are.
So, Mr. Hanna, I just want to interrupt you just a quick second. I think what I want to do, because we've been in a teaching and educational mode here for quite some time, and we want to stay in that spirit. I just want to take a moment for you to share with the viewing public and the folks that are here this morning who CREDC is,
Sure.
Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council, and what your role is as the executive director, so people will put the who, what, when, where, how, and why. They'll know every time you reference CREDC, they'll know exactly who and what you're talking about. That will help, because we've got a lot of folks who are here who are taking notes, and they're wanting to learn about all this stuff that's happening in our community. And I want to just take advantage before we just go through every slide. They're not know really who you are and what you do. Thank
you, Mr. Chairman. That's a very good point, and one that I shouldn't have overlooked. Again, my name is Kevin Hanna. I am the President and CEO of the Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council, CREDC, CREDC for short. CREDC was created some years ago as the economic development agent or arm of both the county and the city. Importantly, we are funded jointly by the county, by the city, and partially by the Development Authority of Rockdale County. Our rent is subsidized to some extent by the Conyers Rockdale Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. Our offices are located, obviously, in the Chamber of Commerce building. My job as President and CEO is to oversee the economic development efforts, however that's illustrated, but the economic development efforts of Conyers Rockdale. In short, that includes business retention, going after new businesses, helping existing businesses find resources, whether they're financial, human, otherwise, but finding resources to become more successful, and of late in helping companies in their workforce development efforts. I report to a board of directors. Commissioner Sherry Washington serves as chair of that board. The board also includes the mayor, the chair of the Development Authority of Rockdale County, also sits on the board. The rest of the board members are made up of private business owners, not-for-profit business owners, an employee an executive employee from the hospital, as well as a Rockdale County Public School System Board of Directors member. We meet on the second Thursday of each month at 8:30. Our next meeting is scheduled from a week from this coming Thursday, next week. 8:30, and everybody here obviously is invited to attend that meeting. With that said, again, the CRETSI board thought it wise to create goals and objectives for me and the CRETSI organization to meet in this upcoming year. That had not been done before, and so it's kind of an experiment on our part, but we are well into it as of October of 2022. The goals are listed, and again, I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. The first two goals really should be combined. If you can't read them in the back, Goal 1 says retain existing businesses, that is, keep what we have. Goal 2 is assist existing businesses in expanding, that is, grow what we have. In other words, the goal is to help existing businesses find the resources they need to be successful, to grow what we have. Goal 3 is assist bringing in new businesses, that is, go for what we want. And again, if you combine goals 1 and 2 and then contrast that with goal 3, goals 1 and 2 are grow what we have. Goal 3 would be go for what we want. Those types of businesses, those industries that we deem appropriate or strategically important for Rockdale County, go for those companies to either move to or expand within the county.
And Mr. Hamlin, can you give us a little bit of an example as to, on goal number 3, assisting bringing new businesses, go for what we want. Can you talk about that a little bit to help folks understand? Oftentimes when they see multiple different businesses, one time we had 5 mattress firms in less than a mile radius there at 138 in Dogwood Drive, and people literally think that we go and get them and bring them in. I thought it was crazy too that we had 5 mattress firms all within less than a mile. A lot of folks don't understand how it works. Can you just take a moment as the Executive Director of Economic Development and just explain a little bit of that so people have an understanding how that works?
Sure. Let me explain how that doesn't work first. We don't control the restaurants that come to Rockdale County. We can't strong arm a higher level restaurant, something more than a fast food, not even a fast food company, to come to Rockdale County. We can encourage them to do so, but it is not within our power, or anybody's power, to make or somehow get folks to come here who would not ordinarily or who do not see the economic benefit of being here. We can't do that. What we can do, and I'll give you a specific example. There is and I'll get to this in a later slide rather. There is a company in Western Pennsylvania, which is very interested in expanding. They have a certain type of entertainment complex. They are interested in expanding in the southeast, somewhere in the southeast. We are interested in having them expand specifically in Conyers, Rockdale. Towards that end, we have visited the organization. We have invited them to come and visit, and they have in fact come and visited here and looked around and toured a couple of sites here. We have provided them with a lot of information for them to review and to compare. And we are actually on a short list of places that they have decided would make sense for them to come in the Southeast. One here, another in Tennessee, and another in South Carolina. There are other steps that we can take that I'm not at liberty right now to share, but there are other steps that we can take to help encourage them to come to Rockdale County. But that is an example of us proactively going out and, I wouldn't say recruiting, but strongly encouraging a particular company whose product, let's say, or service we would like to have here in Rockdale County.
Could you explain it from the state level also? If somebody like, let's just say Rivian, that whole process, how if the state or a big company that has a lot of state influence, would you explain to people how that works also?
That's actually a very good question, because that's the other way that, in fact, that's probably one of the best ways that companies end up relocating to a specific geographic location. The state, typically, if a company wants to, whether it's international or national, if they want to either expand, like I said with this other company, to the Southeast, or if they want to create a new presence in the United States, period, they typically start at the state level with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, or the Georgia Department of Labor. Or maybe more typically, they go straight to the governor, and the governor assigns them to one of their executive offices. That office then pulls information together based on what the company tells, let's say the governor, it needs. It needs so many megawatts of power. It needs so many gallons of available wastewater. They need X number of square feet of building that needs to be close to a rail or a major highway. They give all of their criteria to the governor, to the state, let's say, and the state then uses its metrics to identify different places within the state that might fit what they're looking for. The state then reaches out to that individual county, city, community, provides them the information. The state almost always tags it with a project trust, project model, project national. And that's all we know if they come to Rockdale. We just know that project, I'll give you a live example. Project Penny is looking for 200,000 square feet. They won't tell us exactly what they make, but they'll tell us that they'll employ 125 people if and when they do come to our town. It is then up to us, through CRETSI as kind of the tip of the spear, it's up to us to go and market ourselves to the state, well, to the company through the state. The company then makes its decision by culling a large list down to a smaller list down to a top 3 list, and then that top 3 list is typically asked to provide their best and final offer when it comes to incentives, typically mostly in terms of incentives. And then based on that best and final offer, the company notifies the state of its decision. And again, there needs to be somebody, a tip of the spear, so to speak, there available to take those calls from the state, and CRETSI serves that purpose.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Train going by?
Do we have a?
A train going by?
Oh, I don't know.
I think
don't
that's
know what
AC.
that noise is. Okay. You might have to use your go to the Falcons game voice to kind of speak over that noise that we're competing with.
Sure. Goal 4 is one I would like to highlight. Goal 4 speaks of workforce development. I have, and this will come up in one of the succeeding slides as well. One of the things I've been tasked to do is go out and meet with companies around Rockdale County to find out what their needs are, to get back to the keep what we have and grow what we have. it's easy. It could happen where a company is looking to move and not tell anybody. The last thing that an economic development executive wants to do is read about a company leaving town and not knowing that it was happening. So, that being the case, I've made it my goal in life to go out and meet with as many of Rockdale's top 50 companies as possible. I've made the rounds, and the point I wanted to make relative to goal 4 is that in every single meeting, it never fails, of the top 2 needs, one of those top 2 is workforce development. They can't find enough people to meet their needs. They can't keep enough people to keep 3 shifts going. If they could get more people in, they could get a whole nother shift, and they can even work on weekends. They've got that much, everybody seems to have that much demand for their product, whatever their sundry product is. Our goal is to help those companies meet those needs, help those companies find folks, retain folks, and with that, grow the tax base. Grow the tax base. It's important, obviously, you all know, I'm not going to preach to this choir, but it's important. One of Cretzy's most important jobs is to create and maintain, help create and maintain jobs in Rockdale County, because therein lies the tax base. Goal 5 is to continue to support certain board priorities, not the least of which is the film industry. And I have some slides that I want to share on that as well. Next slide, please. So, in terms of action items, I was given 6 types of action items that I needed to fulfill in order for the board to look at this as a successful year. The first is one that I just touched on, that is visit, on average, 3 businesses from the top 100 companies in Rockdale County, and I'll get to the results of each of these in succeeding slides. The next is to create a strategic plan to target specific industries, followed by consideration of a feasibility of creating a developers day. That is a day to recognize developers in Rockdale County. The fourth, quantify progress in workforce development. And finally, become involved in local, state, and federal organizations. And again, just to be more specific with the involved, GETA is listed there. GETA is the Georgia Economic Development Authorities Association. SEDC is the Southeast Development Council. The Metro Chamber. JADAMA, please don't ask me what JADAMA stands for, but I have been meeting by Zoom with them once a quarter, and other economic development organizations. Accomplishments, next slide, please. Again, it may be kind of hard to read in the back, but listed there are the companies we visited over the past several months or so. This plan was put in place, I want to say, in late February, early March. And so these numbers are just from the spring through July. But what you cannot see there is essentially we're on track to meet the 3 companies per month goal. What's listed there are the companies themselves, just to give you a sample: Lyochem, Haber-Becker, Pratt, of course, Raymond Engineering, Snapping Shoals, Acuity Brands, Lyochem, and Diversitech. In addition, we've also gone out and seen, they're not listed here, Golden State Foods and Dart. Next slide, please. This speaks to the strategic plan. This is an initiative in which the chairman has been very, very important and has participated very, very closely. It's called the Front Porch Discussion, group. Essentially, what the Front Porch Discussion Group is an initiative to create an economic development strategic plan for Conyers and Rockdale. As the slide reads, it centers around creating a collaborative strategy for economic and community development for Rockdale, which would strengthen the community's position as a great place to live and work. The Chamber and CREDC, along with local leaders, have been at the forefront of pulling this together. I am proud to say that there are a number of people in this room who have participated in the front porch discussions and in the meetings. The leadership, last dot says the leadership includes Chair of the Rockdale County Commission, Superintendent of Rockdale Public Schools, the Mayor, and includes other members of the Chamber of Commerce. This really resonates with me because it's important for me to know the strategic direction that our leaders, our community want us to go in, because I'll use that as kind of a guide for especially the growing what we have in addition to the going for what we want to see, the types of companies we want to have here in Rockdale County. Next slide, please. In sum, we've completed 12 visits. This goes to workforce development. In those 12 visits, again, the primary issue faced by all of those companies has been retaining and obtaining good, trained and reliable personnel. Since then, we have, in fact, relatively recently, we have onboarded a workforce development VP. In fact, she's here with me, Rita Braswell. Stand up, Rita, please, just real quick. Rita came on board last month and importantly is co-funded by the Rockdale County Public School System. Rita represents a wonderful collaboration between CREDC, Economic Development, and the Rockdale County School System. The school system recognizes the importance, again, to go to that tax base issue, the importance of bringing in new companies who will pay property taxes, having existing companies expand who will pay more property taxes. All of that, well, 80% of that inuring to the benefit of the school system. So with that in mind, they consented to actually pay half of Rita's salary along with CREDC. Most of our funding is coming from the county in terms of that workforce development position. So on behalf of CREDC, thank you all for your contribution, or your willingness, not your contribution, your investment in workforce development.
Can we also add that this is the first time that the school system has contributed to CREDC, so we're really proud that the school system sees an opportunity to participate in economic development and has stepped up to help us fund an area that we deemed critical in the success of economic development in this county. And we're so excited to have Ms. Braswell.
So I met Rita yesterday at a Community Resource Network meeting, and she shared with me that she has 3 offices. One at Pine Street at the administration building with the school board, one at CREDC, and one at RCA.
Yeah.
And so, she's making those rounds and those connections, and by being present in those places, you develop relationships,
Yeah.
and relationships, that's what economic development is all about, is relationships.
Absolutely.
I don't want to miss this moment. I do want to say that we are super excited that the school system, being that they receive 82% of all of the taxes collected in Rockdale County, it just makes sense that the school board contributes to the future of economic development here in Rockdale County. I think that when industries and companies are thinking or considering coming into Rockdale County, one of the first things they consider is the quality of the local education. And all of our taxpayers in this community, when you go down to the bottom right section of your statement, you will see that the largest amount of your taxes go to public education. So it just makes sense. So in the spirit of what Commissioner Washington said, yes, we are super excited and we welcome the contribution, and so glad that they have assigned a representative to work very closely with the Conyers-Rockdale Economic Development Council, because again, one of the #1 decisions for companies and families considering moving into our area is the quality of education.
Amen.
And since we pay the largest amount in taxes to local education, here's what we want: a quality school system. So I think now, working in tandem with economic development, the Board of Commissioners, the City of Conyers, and the Rockdale Development Authority, we can have a win-win opportunity. So we're looking for more. You've got 3 offices. I don't expect you to be in not one of them. I expect you to be out there building those relationships and doing what you can do to help foster an environment where we have not only a quality education, but we are attracting into our community the kind of industries and businesses that will take the tax burden off of the homeowners. That's what we need here, and that's what we're so. Let's give her a round of applause for even being on board. Welcome to Rockdale County.
The third item on that particular list is the reinstitution of the Human Resources Roundtable, and that's important because before COVID, my predecessor did a great job of convening human resource directors on a regular basis to talk to them, to have them kind of air their grievances. Having been on the private sector, I know that whenever something big is about to happen in a company, 2 departments get notified before any others. One is the finance department, the other is the HR department. So to the extent that we have access to and touch those HR folks, we'll know if something big, little, or otherwise is coming down the pike. In fact, I think our next HR roundtable is scheduled for, we're going to have 1 more this year, and then we'll hopefully do them quarterly next year. Next slide, please. Involvement, and I'm going to go through this real quick. This is the goal that had to do with involvement in various and sundry organizations. We've attended several GETA. Again, GETA is Georgia Economic Development Association's spring meetings and the fall meeting. I've attended the Southeast Development Council Consulting Conference, monthly JADAMA meetings. But the one thing I wanted to emphasize is that we've established great relationships with Congressman Hank Johnson, with the U.S. Department of Labor, Community Affairs, with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, Economic Development, and the Georgia Department of Labor. Because remember the example I gave in response to Commissioner Washington's question as to the process, we need to have great relationships with those organizations, particularly the state organizations, because oftentimes they have some leeway, some say in where companies ought to go. And to the extent that we have relationships with those organizations, DCA, Economic Development, and Labor in particular, there's a better chance that they'll steer businesses our way. And finally, we've reestablished the Economic Development Breakfast Series. That was something else that my predecessor was very successful in doing that got kind of sidelined during the COVID experience. And in fact, I bought some flyers that I'll leave here for folks who are interested in attending our next breakfast series, which is scheduled for October 19th at 7:45. Just to kind of give you a flavor for that, at that October 19th meeting, the agenda has Bob Hughes. Bob is the president and director of economic development for the Madison Morgan Chamber of Commerce. but he's also on the Joint Development Authority of Jasper, Morgan, Newton, and Walton counties.
That's the organization that got Rivian.
And that's what Bob is going to be talking about. He's going to give us an update on Rivian and what its impact is expected to be, not just on Jasper, Morgan, Newton, and Walton counties, but on Rockdale as well. And hopefully he'll be in a position to speak to that recent news that came out relative to a judge's decision relative to Rivian. But in addition to Mr. Hughes, Lee Thomas is going to be at the October 19th meeting. Lee Thomas is the Deputy Commissioner for Film, Music, and Digital Entertainment for the state of Georgia, and Lee will give us an update on what's going on there. And finally, Blake Watts is the CEO of Piedmont Rockdale Hospital. Piedmont Rockdale just invested a huge amount of money. How much specifically in the? $12 million to provide for upgrades, but the specific topic of Blake's comments on the 19th will be a robotics demonstration. The hospital has purchased a super sophisticated robot, and I love using this example. Laura taught us. This robot can literally peel skin off of a grape. It is a surgical robot that will be operated by surgeons, obviously. You don't leave it to the robot to do everything, but it's super sophisticated, and they're going to give us a demonstration of that robot at the breakfast on the 19th. So please, I'd encourage as many folks as can to come. There's a cover charge of $10 because we are serving breakfast and our budget is limited. Next slide, please. I wanted to include this slide, even though it is not included in one of our goals. We talk about, I've mentioned the tax base several times. The only thing that's better than adding companies which add money to the tax roll is being able to spread out a tax burden among more people, meaning bringing more people into Conyers Rockdale. Over the past year or so, we've had record new residential development growth. 1,566 to be exact. 1,566 units approved and under construction in the city. That is multifamily, senior, single family, detached, and single family attached, otherwise known as townhouses. 2,255 units approved or under construction in the county. That's a total of 3,821 housing units that are underway as of July 31st. Just to give you something to compare that to, I am told that there had not been a new multifamily housing development in Rockdale County in at least 10 years. 20 years. A good number of both the city's 1566 and the county's 2255 are in fact multifamily housing units. Next slide, please.
So before you go, Mr. Hannah, before we go to the next slide, I want to park the car there just for a second.
I'm glad you are.
Your total shows 3,821 housing units approved and under construction as of July 31st. What that number speaks to is the level of growth in our community. More people are moving into Rockdale in the city of Conyers. The community is changing, is growing. And in order to get a lot of the businesses that are often requested by local residents, you have to have a tax base that will support the level of restaurants, hotels, arts, culture, entertainment. You've got to have folks who are earning a certain amount of income that are coming into your area that will justify for those companies to do what is called a feasibility study. Otherwise, they won't come to Rockdale. Now, I know we're going to talk about, or you made mention of Rivian and what's happening down in Newton County. Well, I'm super excited that Rivian is coming to Newton County because Rockdale backdoors to Newton County. And all of those folks are not going to be able to live in Newton County. They're going to look for a place to live. And Rivian is paying the kind of salaries that will help bolster the tax base. I hope you're following what we're saying here. This is part of that education. You got to understand that in order for us to get all of those companies or restaurants or industry that folks are often asking for, we've got to have a tax base, residents who are earning a certain amount of money that will attract those businesses here. And I think we're moving in the right direction. In addition to that, I want to give your upcoming quarterly breakfast a plug. Those flyers, the few flyers that you have, I encourage you to put them out in the vestibule out there. Folks who are interested can pick up one or either take a picture of it with the phone and perhaps be there and be educated about what really happens from an economic development standpoint. All of this information that you're giving us slide by slide, we cannot afford to glaze over this information. We have to make sure that people who are listening and watching are educated about how all of this works. I really appreciate the point you made earlier about the fact that we don't necessarily go out and just bring those businesses here. We do have some influence, and the influence between the city and the county really lies in the lap of our ordinances and our codes and our regulations. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out because I think it's important. With that number of new housing development in our overall community, be it in the city limits or in the unincorporated area of the county, it's growth and it speaks to change that's happening in this community. You've got to have that tax base to support what we're wanting to see. If you don't have folks who are making a certain amount of money, those industries and those companies, those restaurants, they are not coming here. So I just wanted to make sure we explain that to folks understand it.
Can I also make a comment about the housing? So the other thing, when companies are looking, the big ones that are being escorted by the state, the second, one of the top three is housing. Yep. Does this community have the housing stock or the ability to have the housing stock to house their workers? Because if they're bringing 700 people or given 700 jobs, they want their workers to live close to the job, but also have a certain quality of life. So that's part of the package that we have to provide them. What kind of housing stock do we have? What kind of things do we have in the pipelines? What kind of developments are we developing? And that's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about us having amenities and a certain type of developments when developers do come to us. So
absolutely.
Let me just piggyback on both your comments, and they are great. I kind of tussled with how much time to spend on this, but I'm glad you all have, as you put it, Mr. Chairman, decided to park for a second. A couple of things. It is important not just to have housing, but to have a variety of housing. And you all have heard me say this before, as people go through their adult life cycle, your housing need is different when you come out of college than it is when you get that first promotion. It's different again when you get married. It will be different again when you have children. Even if you decide to stay single, it'll get different when you become, get into your 50s and 60s. It's important for us to have options, housing options for people as they mature, as their housing needs change over their lives. And to the extent that we don't have either enough options or the types of options folks are looking at a particular period, they're going to live someplace else. And studies have shown that it's really hard for people, once they go someplace else, to come back to a given place, wherever from which they've moved. So those housing numbers, those 3,800 houses, represent everything from workforce houses for teachers and firemen and policemen, nurses, people who work in our hospitals, to higher-end houses, the single-family detached, the $400,000 or $500,000 houses. That's variety is the first point. Second point is to your point and to yours relative to what restaurants are looking for. Not just restaurants, but the types of amenities that we all would like to have here. The people who develop those look at certain aspects of a community's demographics. And that demographic, one of those demographics, I'm almost embarrassed to say is income. If a community doesn't have enough people who make at or above a certain income, that company, that restaurant, that amenity is not going to come. I can mention a certain donut franchise, which has a minimum income for a county of X dollars. I won't say who they are or what that number is.
They already know who it is. I've said it. They know Krispy Kreme. Let me say this to you. You come to this Board of Commissioners meeting. We don't hold anything back. I've talked about Krispy Kreme multiple times. I want to see a Krispy Kreme here myself. They've got one in Henry County right over in Stockbridge. They got one right up the road here in Decatur in DeKalb County. But I appreciate what you're doing right at this moment about the education piece. There is a median household income. It's a threshold number that serves a part of the criteria for Krispy Kreme and many other companies very much like them. If we don't meet and really exceed that threshold, they're not even going to consider us based upon our median household income. That's just basic information.
It's not the only criteria.
No, it's not the only.
But
It's not only, but it is part of the major list. It's the starting point of those things when you, from that top 3 to 5 items in terms of any company considering coming here, they're going to look at the median household income. I want to do something so we can move on, so we can move on here. But let me say this, because on this particular slide where you're talking about housing, and I have to say that I am very proud that Rockdale County has a very diverse mixture of housing. I was out yesterday with a developer looking all over the county from the north side to the south side of Rockdale County, and we have a very diverse mix of housing. However, I want to make sure that another point of education, commissioners, that I think has been missed. We have a growing population of seniors in our community.
That's a great point.
And I want to make sure I bring this, because I'm going to take advantage of this each and every time that I have it. There is a difference between affordable housing and low-income housing. Miss Lucille, who gets Social Security and SSI, who only gets a measly $1,400 or $1,500 or $1,800 a month, she cannot afford what y'all are describing, or what the market, let me say it the right way, what the market describes as affordable housing. That's all she gets. So there's a big difference in affordable housing and low-income housing. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out, because oftentimes there are seminars or symposiums and all those fancy words to bring people out to talk about affordable housing. Well, Ms. Lucille's sitting up in that meeting, and when they show what the price point is for affordable housing, she knows that her monthly check that she get between the 1st and the 3rd of every month is only $1,485, Social Security or SSI. She cannot afford that. So I don't want to mislead anybody. We have to be crystal clear. We don't want to mislead anybody. I'm more interested with the demographic and the growing population of our seniors in this community. I'm more interested in hearing from, watch this, the federal government and how they are going to address the housing crisis across the nation, and particularly for those seniors. And a lot of those seniors are left to themselves. They don't have children, grandchildren, or anybody to fend for them, and they only get Social Security or a small amount of money. So I'm looking for the federal government. Let me clear this up. The local county government doesn't have funds in our coffers to go build a senior high-rise. The county government doesn't have that. It doesn't work that way. We're looking for the federal government. Who am I talking about? The folks at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Those are the folks I'm talking about in terms of sending down some federal funds through HUD that can help our seniors get into housing that meets and matches their income on a monthly basis. So I wanted to clear that up, Commissioners, because a lot of times we hear this buzzword, and it's been rolling around for about 10 years now, affordable housing, affordable housing. Well, that don't mean anything to somebody who's getting a Social Security check. It's only $1,300, $1,200, $1,400 a month. They can't do nothing with that. So we've got to, I want to hear from who's in the White House, or who's going to be in the White House, who's going to create an initiative through HUD that's going to take care of our seniors with low-income housing that they can afford, that gives them decency, dignity, and energy-efficient living that they can afford on a monthly basis. All of us in this room know somebody that's getting a Social Security check, and there's some people in this room probably getting one too, and they know good well you can't do anything with what they're talking about in terms of affordable housing versus a Social Security check that you're getting that's only $1,500, $1,400 a month. That's not going to happen. In fact, those people are really living on the poverty line. So I wanted to clear that up. I think, Commissioners, it's an incumbent upon us when we're moving throughout the community and in the public to bring clarity to that. Those seniors who can afford affordable housing and greater are those people who have retired and put money in place and have the kind of retirement income that will afford them the opportunity to live in those types of homes. But there's many people who don't have that luxury, and we have to be mindful and on the lookout for them, should I say.
Absolutely. I agree. And roughly about a third of those units do represent housing for seniors. I'm glad to say.
Well, that's
But
good
a great
news.
point.
That's
a great
still a
point.
small number,
Yeah.
but that's good news. We need more.
Just a couple more slides. Next slide, please. These speak to accomplishments for 2022. There are currently 3 live projects. Remember I said that typically projects come to us from the state or from, I should have added, from consultants. We currently are working 3 such prospects. Project Murphy is looking for 500,000 square foot building. They will bring up to 750 people once they're fully built out in about 2.5 to 3 years. Project SNS is looking to develop a 750,000 square foot facility. This is the entertainment entity that I talked to you about before. And they'll bring roughly 250 employees with them if we're chosen as their spot. And then finally, Project Penny, which is the most recent of those. Project Penny just came across our desk literally last week through the state, and they consulted. They're looking for just over 200,000 square feet. They'll bring 125 employees. Project Penny is a Polish company who is looking to establish a U.S. foothold, possibly in Georgia. That's a great illustration of the kinds of companies that we're looking for. They're diverse, and again, I can't go into a whole lot more detail as to what they do specifically, but each of them, I would think, a majority of folks in Rockdale County would like to see come and provide their good or their service. Next slide, please. Additional planned events. The Developers Day, recall I said that we were going to do a better job of celebrating existing companies. And by that, I mean specifically having a Developers Day where we'll celebrate and highlight some of the accomplishments of local developers. A National Manufacturers Week. National Manufacturers Week already exists. We are going to dive into that in a big way in 2023. And finally, the Rockdale Career Academy Job Fair. that is something that I'm kind of announcing here this morning. I've not talked to the folks at Rockdale Career Academy, but I am on the board, so I'm pretty confident that they'll be okay with the idea of our putting on a job fair specifically for graduating seniors come this spring, the spring of 2023. Next slide. And then these are just kind of miscellaneous accomplishments by Cretsy. During the year, we've brought on a CPA and an auditor. We are within our budget. Snapping Shows was kind enough to provide us a $3,000 grant, which kind of serves as found money for us. Received co-funding for the workforce development position, that again is Ms. Braswell's position from Rockdale County Public Schools. And then importantly, we applied for, Commissioner Washington brought this to my attention, we applied for and were approved by the federal government for a $150,000 matching grant specifically for workforce development. And that is my report. I would like to be able to come back before the commission twice a year and provide a semi-annual report. Next, obviously, will be a year-end report, maybe sometime in February after we've had a chance to kind of pull everything together for calendar year 2022. I have with me, this information came to me late, so I didn't have a chance to have it included on the slides, but I have with me reports on film industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to go through this in detail, although it really is we've had an impressive year in the film industry. Just a couple of things I do want to highlight. The Georgia film industry generated more than $4.4 billion in direct spending in fiscal 2021. That's for the state. In 2021, our office worked with 42 active filming projects, that is Rockdale. 42 active filming projects that brought an estimated economic impact to the Rockdale community of more than $38 million. In 2022, as of October 1st, our office has assisted 32 major film productions with filming in our community, and we are on track to add another 15 to 20 film productions by the end of the year. I asked that this be added to the official record because I really do want folks to be able to see what we've been able to do in the film industry. Like I said, I just got this report literally this morning, so I didn't have a chance to have it added to the slides. But that concludes my report, and I am certainly open for any questions, comments that you or the audience
Commissioner
might
Washington?
have.
Well, first, thank you for this. And the education piece, a lot of times we hear what's being done, we hear all of the questions, and people don't understand the process. So I'm very thankful for the education piece. But when he gave his presentation to us as a board, all of us, we knew the work that was being done. We just didn't realize how much work Mr. Hanna had been doing until he laid all of it out on, and all of the site visits and all of the conferences and all of the things that he's been doing to realize the goals that the board has set for him. So I really wanted him to present all of that, not just to us, but to the county, so that people can see how hard Mr. Hanna has been working for economic development in this county. Cretsy, just the board in general, everybody works hard. Everybody steps up and does whatever needs to be done to get the job done, and I'm very proud to serve on that board. But I also wanted to give a special recognition to our board member, Laura Sistruck, because she was a former economic development official, or she did work in the realm of economic development, and just her expertise and her her comments and her leadership has really helped us move in the direction that we are moving, and that is to be a premier economic development engine in the state of Georgia. So thank you so much, Laura, for all of your leadership on this board. And know that it's not that I recognize it, and I appreciate everything, every comment that you've made. So thank you. Y'all, we work very hard. Kevin Hanna has been an outstanding addition to this
Thank you.
county, and he lives here. So everything that he does has a direct impact on him. Every decision that's made, he works hard every day to make sure that his community has the best that we can afford and that we can do. So thank you, and I'm extremely proud of this presentation.
Commissioner Williams?
So I really appreciate the information, the education. I think, as a board, we attend the quarterly meetings and we get a lot of the information, but the public really doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so I thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for bringing Ms. Braswell on. I think we're moving in a good direction.
Agreed. Thank you.
Mr. Hanna, thank you for your presentation this morning. I do want to highlight just two things very quickly. Again, to Laura representing Piedmont Rockdale, but our very good friend, the CEO at Piedmont Rockdale Hospital, Blake Watts, has been really truly involved in Rockdale County and turning the relationship and the image of Piedmont Rockdale around here in Rockdale County. And there's been some major strides and improvements down the street of the hospital. And I think that's because of Laura's involvement, and certainly because of our CEO at the hospital has been intimately involved in what's happening in our community. So we certainly do appreciate that. Next year, we will be kicking off our info sessions. The info sessions will include information from various county departments about county operations and how things work. We will continue the spirit of educating the general public. We certainly will be incorporating economic development. And you mentioned coming twice a year. We'd like to have you more often, because I think the more that you can share with the public about what's happening, what's going on, and give updates as often as possible, and certainly participate in these info sessions about economic development, teaching, explaining, answering questions, and educating the general public as to how these things work. Throughout your presentation this morning, you were not at liberty to go in depth about several different prospects, and there's a reason why you can't share and give that information out to the general public. But I think next time you'll have an opportunity to explain why we can't do that when we have a project sort of in the oven, so to speak, and it's baking and cooking, and we don't want to reveal or unveil what's happening because we don't want to damage the opportunity or the chances of the project actually happening here in Rockdale County. So much more in the area of economic development, so much more to teach and explain. This is a very good start. Let's give Mr. Hanna a round of applause.
Thank you. I'm going to leave these in the vestibule.
Thank you so much. At this point, we are excited that our Department of Talent Management, under the leadership of our Executive Director, Tony Holmes, will come up at this time. She's got some exciting news about our employees and some of the training we've been doing in Rockdale County. As we're moving through the transition at this point, we will now turn it over to Executive Director Tony Holmes.
Yes, good morning. Sorry, my voice. Good morning, Madam Commissioners,
Good
Chair.
morning.
We are excited today to recognize our employees. I have two exciting programs that I want to talk about today. I am going to go ahead and start off with our Emerging Leaders cohort. This is our inaugural cohort, and I've actually brought with me today our Training and Development Coordinator for Rockdale County, Ms. Pam Lamar. I'm going to invite her up here to tell you a little bit about the program. We have a short video that we want to show, a slideshow, and then we're going to acknowledge the participants for our inaugural cohort. So, Ms. Pam.
Thank you, Director Holmes. To Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Washington, and to Chairman Nesbitt, thank you for your leadership. I am here today, I'm Pam Lamar, Training and Development Coordinator for Rockdale County, and I am here to introduce a program called Emerging Leaders. This program is administered in partnership with Leader.gov. Employees interested in leadership and management programs here in Rockdale County have an opportunity to apply for Emerging Leaders 12-month training program. Rockdale employees actively participate in learning assignments, interactions with peers, and develop leadership skills. Every year, participants must apply for the Emerging Leaders program and must complete a robust training program that would prepare them to become emerging leaders of Rockdale County. The application will be coming out shortly, and it will be due by November the 1st, and it kicks off in January. I have the pleasure of presenting our current emerging leaders who have finished their 12-month program, and I'd like to invite them up at this time.
Very good.
If you would come up.
Show the video.
Okay. You want to show it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sean Kimball is part of he's coming out. There he is. He's coming out as well. Yes, if you guys can go ahead. It is a slideshow, just some photos from when we started, as well as the program that they just completed on September 26th. So if we can play that slideshow right now. At this time, we will go ahead and present each of them with a certificate of completion for this program. Again, I'm going to talk in the microphone, my voice is. We are so proud of this group, Chairman, Madam Commissioners. Again, they participated in a year-long program. The logo that you saw up there, they actually created their own logo. They also came up with their name and their color scheme, so they are trendsetters for sure, trailblazers, and just proud. So that picture shows when we first told them they were part of the program, people had to apply to participate in this program. We started out with 8. We had a total of 6 people complete the program for Rockdale County's inaugural cohort. So Ms. Pamela will actually call them by name, and then we'll allow them an opportunity to make any brief comments they may want to make, but we'll go ahead and call them by name.
Okay, our first certificate of achievement is for our emerging leader, Donna Ballard.
Good morning. I just want to say that I really enjoy this. I learned so much, and I really am grateful for the opportunity to participate in this.
Thank you, Ms. Donna.
Our next recipient is Olandria Bing.
Thank you, Ms. Pam. Good morning, Chairman, Madam Commissioners. I just want to say I had an excellent experience with Leader Gov. Bill, Joy, and Tim are awesome leaders, and I definitely am looking forward to expanding my leadership skills. I learned so much, and I'm very thankful to be a part of this great program. Thank you.
Our next emerging leader, Victor Johnson.
Victor.
So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to, be in this class, and I appreciate y'all.
Victor, tell us what department you work in.
The water plant. I work at Rockdale Water Plant.
All right,
Yes,
very
sir.
good.
Sorry about that. Our next emerging leader is Mr. Sean Kimball. You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. This has been a great time going through this program. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And to all employees, I think it's October 1st? November 1st, okay. Apply. Definitely apply. This has been a great program. We've learned a lot. And it's not just what we bring to the table here at the office. It's also what we bring to the table to our families, to our churches, to other organizations that we work for and we volunteer for. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, and we now have our emerging leader, Tiffany Shepard. Congratulations, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you to the board, Madam Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to have to work with the emerging leaders, and it was a wonderful experience. I did learn a couple of things, and I did want to bring this to you. I learned that leadership is not power, it's service. Amen. Leadership is not bossy, it's understanding. And leadership is not pushy, it's demonstrative. And I thank you all for the opportunity.
Can we ask for the new disc?
Oh, yes. Tell me what that meant. That was our
Okay. The new word. So we learned about personality styles, and the DISC is the standard that we're using. It's for, I forgot all of a sudden. Dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. That's what we typically learned is the personality styles. But I haven't taken this leadership class. Said, did I successfully communicate? So.
All right, we're going to take a picture, a quick photo with the participants from the emerging leaders. If you guys can all group together. She's saying to come in front of the podium. It's all right.
I thought I was going to sneak in the picture.
Yes, from the audience.
I'm sorry, Tiffany.
You good?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. All of our participants had to complete a capstone project as part of the cohort as well. So we're excited to participate. The next thing that I want to talk about, and again, I am super excited about this, and he is here. I'm going to go ahead and ask that Public Relations, we also want to go ahead and announce our Employee of the Year for 2022. Yes. If we can go ahead and show the video. While that video is playing, I'm going to go ahead and invite up Mr. C.
Rockdale County is full of amazing employees that continue to dedicate themselves to excellence in customer service. Once a year, Rockdale County recognizes one of our own as Employee of the Year. This employee exemplifies our county's core values on a day-to-day basis. Congratulations to C.G. Baker for his exemplary work in animal services. We hope that you enjoy being a leader within Rockdale County, and once again, congratulations.
Commissioners, Chairman, if you don't mind, I want to read, we had all of the nominees, and we had several nominees, over 20 nominees this year. It was a really, really hard competition, but I do want to go ahead and read some of the comments that CG wrote as far as why he should be Employee of the Year. So if you don't mind, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but I've been with Rockdale County Animal Services Division since February 2006. I started as a kennel care technician and have worked my way up to division manager. I have been the manager since March of 2009. Since becoming the manager, I've been part of legal affairs, emergency services, parks and recreation, recreation and maintenance, and now EMA. I try to bring, he's been a lot. Keep getting rid of it. Yeah. I try to bring public awareness to what we do, try to always make the county look good in what we do, offer a great amount of public education, and I have always been a team player. I have dedicated my life to this career and worked very hard to run a top-notch facility, something that the Rockdale County citizens can be proud of. I have developed many rescue contacts that pull hundreds of animals each year. I have worked hard not only in the shelter, but also with continuing my education so I can serve my staff, my director, the board, and the citizens to the best of my ability. I have completed my associate's degree and am currently working on my bachelor's degree. I am nationally certified, so I'm going to read 6 of these certifications, but he has a lot more, but I'm going to read 6 of them. I am nationally certified in animal care and control, fear-free shelter certified, cruelty investigator. Am I pronouncing this right? Is it equine?
Equine.
Equine, okay, and I had to Google what that meant. It meant something with horses, so I Googled what that meant. But equine cruelty investigator, community emergency response team, community animal response team, and FEMA. So that's just 6, just to name a few. Many certifications and educations. Not only do I work hard for my director, the board, the citizens, and the shelter, but I also work hard for my employees. I will work in the trenches with them. I have never asked them to do anything I have not done myself. I have an open door policy, and I am there for them day and night, no matter what they need. I try to always be fair, consistent, and encourage them to better themselves. I also focus on staff education, shelter improvements, and public outreach. I would also like to add that this nomination means a lot to me. I greatly appreciate this opportunity and being noticed for the things that I bring to Rockdale County. It lets me know that it does not go unnoticed. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our Employee of the Year, Mr. C.G. Baker.
Yes, I came prepared. I had a feeling if they had a chance to get me to speak in the mic, they would. First, thank you all. Thank you, Director Morgan, for nominating me and for all the kind things that you've said. The employees of Rockdale that voted me into the top 8, and then, of course, talent management, the panel interview, and the Board of Commissioners for choosing me as Employee of the Year. This award means a great deal to me and the Animal Services team. As she read, I've been with Rockdale County Animal Services for going on 17 years, and I will tell you, the Animal Services Department or division that it is today is not what it was in 2006. I've watched it grow. I've been part of that grow. I've seen the difference in the way that the public views the importance of us, and also the positive changes that we're making with the community bond that we're starting to see. And I've also seen how the Board of Commissioners respond to our needs differently now versus what they did back then. I have worked under 3 chairmen and a number of department directors, I think 8 total. But it's been an honor. It's definitely been a roller coaster at times, but it's fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'm proud of how far we've come. I can't wait to see where Animal Services is going. This award isn't about me and my accomplishments. This award is about the team at Animal Services. The staff that comes in every day works hard to make a difference, and I'm lucky to have such a great team working with me daily. I could not do what I do without them. Anybody who knows Chairman Nesmith knows that one of his famous sayings, of many, but one of the famous ones is, no one gets anything done by themselves. And that could not be more true, because most importantly, I need to thank my team at Animal Services for making my job easier and for making me successful. So, thank you all.
Amen.
I thought I was going to get
And Chairman, Madam President, do you mind if you guys are included in this picture with our employee of the year?
Absolutely.
If you can come on
Absolutely.
down. We'll do a picture.
in front.
In front of the podium.
So long as no cats. Darn cats. At my house, I could bring you some.
Let's give CJ another round of applause.
Madam Commissioners and Chairman, I just want to let you know some of the things that we award our Employee of the Year with. The Employee of the Year gets to walk around with the customary polo for the entire year that says Employee of the Year, so that's just for them. He does receive a Employee of the Year acrylic plaque. He receives a certificate, his name recognition here at the Board of Commissioners. His picture will also be displayed at the BOC office for an entire year. He gets a designated parking space just for him, close to where he works at. There is a gift card for him, and he also receives a personal day off with pay. So that is what we award our Employee of the Year. Thank you so much. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director Holmes. Hats off to C.G. Baker, who has done a fantastic job representing Rockdale County all the years of service in animal services. And thank you to all of the other employees that were nominated, because this was a tough task to decide who's actually going to be. That's a good problem to have, commissioners, when you have so many very good, outstanding employees, and we have the difficult task of deciding who's going to be the Employee of the Year. So let's give all of the nominees a wonderful round of applause. Absolutely. I like to say that we're rocking and rolling in Rockdale County. We have so many wonderful employees, very talented people who put their heart and soul behind the work that they do to serve the citizens of Rockdale County, and we certainly do appreciate each and every one of them. I would not like to be in the shoes of Executive Director Holmes and that panel of decision makers of trying to figure out who's going to be that Employee of the Year. That's a tough task. But we certainly do appreciate what talent management does. I do want to speak to our leaders who participated in the one-year-long process, the Emerging Leaders Cohort Program. Two things that stood out. Number one, we're developing leaders. We continue to develop leaders, and we're automatically working on our succession planning. As you know, the county is changing, things are evolving, people come, people go, people retire. A lot of the people that you see in place won't be around 10 years, 20 years. We've got to make sure that we develop leaders, that we have a real active succession plan in place, commissioners, so that we can continue with great leadership and make sure that we have the right people who are really dedicated to keep Rockdale rocking and rolling. All right. All right, so we're now down to agenda review. Executive Director Rutledge, is that the order we're going in?
That is correct.
All right, very good.
All right, so we'll start with item 473, with Enterprise Fleet Management Incorporated through the General Services and Fleet Division. This is the amendment in Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract to allow general county vehicles to be on fleet replacement plan. This excludes the specialized vehicles for public safety and enterprise at this time. It's an estimated $400,000. It's an ongoing lease, and it's host funded. Item 4, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say,
Apologies.
this contract reminds me of preventive maintenance, where you're trying to keep, ahead of the issues and keep things current. So I think this is going to be really good.
Yeah, I have to agree with Commissioner Williams on this because this really brings the county in terms of fleet management to a whole world of modern operations in terms of making sure that we have the best vehicles, not only for image, but operation and mechanics out on the street. Even the cohort training, they culminated down the road, and they, Lord have mercy, they got in a Rockdale bus van, and as I was leaving, I happened to see the bus van that they came to the event in, and I was really embarrassed. And I said to Director Holmes, I said, we've got to get with Executive Director Sanders and Fleet and the commissioners and make sure that when our folks leave Rockdale County and go into another municipality or county, that the image of this community is represented at its highest and greatest level. I never want to get a call that we have people stuck on I-20 or 85 or 285 or 75. That's embarrassing, and it's quite dangerous. This contract keeps us moving in the right direction so that there's no guesswork about vehicles being brought in and brought out. Once they've reached a certain level of miles and condition and wear and tear, the system automatically says it's time for that car to go. And we save money without continuing to buy transmissions and engines and spend a whole lot of taxpayers' money. This is a big step, a big leap forward in the right direction. So I want to say to the leadership of Executive Director Sanders and Mr. Ken Swift, Ken, stand up. Everybody knows Director Sanders. I want you to stand up because you're the man on the ground. Give Ken a wonderful round of applause. Absolutely. We brought him on board just a little while ago, and he has turned the fleet operations completely around, and this is coming under his watch, and it's really going to save the taxpayers a lot of money. It's going to create an uplifted image for Rockdale County, and it's going to make sure that our employees are driving safe vehicles, that they don't have to do guesswork about whether it's going to start. I hear the music playing. I'll stop there.
You got some
I don't know where it's... Okay, well...
Well, it is an old building, so...
Stop there. Okay, something's happening.
Okay. All right.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. Duly noted. All right, item 474 is with Summit Construction and Development LLC through the General Services Department. This is for the parking lot paving at the Sheriff's Office driveway. It's one of two recommended awardees in the amount of $227,433.43. It's 1 year from issuance of notice to proceed. This is SPLOST funded. Item 475 is with Professionally Engineered Structures and Associates LLC, doing business as PE Structures and Associates LLCs through the General Services Department. This is for the parking lot paving at the CE Steel parking lot, Costley Mill overflow lot, Johnson Park upper parking lot. This is two of two recommended awardees in the amount of $1,386,482.65. This is 1 year from issuance of notice to proceed. This is SPLOST funded.
I love it every time you say this is SPLOST funded. It's a big deal for the citizens to know that SPLOST is contributing to the progressive movement and maintenance of many county projects throughout the county. If not for SPLOST funds, we would not be able to do as many of these things and keep them maintained, keep them looking the way they look. And so thank you to the citizens, thank you to the SPLOST committee for the contributions of making sure that Rockdale County continues to look the way it needs to look moving forward with the maintenance of our roads, our parking lots, and our facilities. This is a big, big deal.
Thank you. Item 476 is with Scottwood Industries Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is for sodium chloride and solar salt. Change order number 1 to contract 2021-216. It's an increase in unit price from $205 per ton to $230 per ton, and to renew the contract term through December 13th, 2023. Item 477 is with Shannon Chemical Corporation through the Water Resources Department. This is for sodium permanganate. This is change order number 1 to contract 2021-218. It's an increase in unit price from $1.33 per pound to $1.83 per pound, and to renew the contract term through December 13th, 2023.
Commissioners, let's pay attention to these increases. I think it's important. We've got to highlight this. We have to highlight the fact that we're not exempt. The county is not exempt from increases just like the regular world. This is typical. This is normal because we're in the heart of inflation and everything everywhere is going up. That also means the invoices that we receive from the vendors who we do business with, they're increasing theirs as well. I want to make sure we point this out because that's a cost for the taxpayers.
Not only that, sodium chloride, solar salt. What do we do with sodium chloride, solar salt, and sodium
Permanganate.
permanganate?
Chemistry class.
I looked, when I first saw it, I thought it said pomegranate.
So that people, I just want people to understand this isn't something that we can say we don't want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sodium chloride.
Tell us who you are and why you're
Okay, I'm
standing.
sorry.
You're about to give us some backdrop. Tell us what qualifies you to give us this information, sir.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Peak. I'm the director of the Rockdale Water Resources.
Director Peak.
Yes, sir. All right. And the question is sodium chloride soda salt. Sodium chloride soda salt is used to produce hypochlorite for the water system, pretty much just to clean our water supply. Okay.
And so, do we know how many tons we use in a year?
I don't currently know how many tons we use in a year, but I will research that and have an answer for you next time I'm up in front of everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Director Pete.
Yes.
Thank you for jumping up on the spot there. And we like all our directors to always be ready because we never know between myself and the commissioners we might call on you.
Okay.
But I will say this, we have clean water in Rockdale County. And that's the most important part. I know you're going to bring us back the scientific and technical aspect maybe the next time we meet and answer the commissioner's question in terms of the number of tons we use of this particular product. But I also want to say how sharp the director looks. Give him a round of applause. He's sharp. He represents Rockdale County. Yes, he looks good. So thank you, Director.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
All right. I just want to note for the record, Commissioner Williams, since you were a school teacher, that I remember how to pronounce all of these from the periodic table. So, so much for not ever using that again, right? Yes, I am using the chemistry class. Okay. Item 478 is with Kendrell Incorporated through Technology Services Department. This is for the hybrid cloud services. This is change order number 1 to contract 2021-213. It's to add a pen testing service at no cost. The date is October 17th, 2022 through November 18th, 2022. Item 479 is with Michael Gaines through the Superior Court and Accountability Courts, certified peer specialist providing peer support services for the Accountability Courts program. The amount of $20 per hour. This is for 1 year with option to renew 2 additional 12-month periods. This is a grant-funded expenditure.
I'd like to talk about that for just a minute. Michael Gaines is a graduate of one of our resource courts, one of our accountability courts. He is delightful. And when we first hired our Brenda Ernest and Bill Carruthers, Bill and I had gone around to different judges and accountability court administrators, and Bill would ask them, so how many peers do you have working with our accountability courts? Peers are someone who have the similar lived experience, and so they can relate. And they have certifications that teach them how to encourage and provide support to those who are going through the process. There was just one, and that was Walter Nunnally, and Walter's name came up over and over again. And I have to say, I was just sitting here thinking quickly in my head, we have at least 6, maybe more than that now, who are providing supports to those in our accountability courts. And it makes a huge difference in how people recover when they can see someone who's been through their same experience, especially those who go through it and then they relapse and then they try again, to learn that that's kind of a normal process and that's nothing to be ashamed of, to just keep trying. And those peers provide so much support. Yes.
Very good, very good.
Absolutely.
Next item.
Okay, item 480 is with PP21 Productions LLC through the Parks and Recreation Department. This is for the use of Legion Fuel for parking work trucks and crew cars for the Gotham Knights in the amount of $1,000 in revenue. The term was September 15th, 2022 until September the 16th, 2022, and this is submitted for ratification. Item 481 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department for Coal Technology to rebuild the pump at the Snapping Shoals Pump Station in the amount of $45,583.16. And we all know what that looks like from the last board meeting.
That's right.
We had pictures. Yes. Item 482 is a requisition through the Transportation Department for Atlas Technical Consultants. This is change order to the PO number 119803 for additional fees to complete the GDOT required appraisal reports for the Courtesy Parkway Extension Project in the amount of $46,100. Item 483 is an expenditure request. The DeKalb County Revenue and License Administration through the Water Resources Department. This is for the sewage treatment for May 2022 in the amount of $99,372.42. Item 484 and 485 go together. It's a future land use map amendment case 2022-08, an ordinance to amend the future land use map of Rockdale County's comprehensive plan as amended so as to redesignate a parcel on 1066 Honey Creek Road from medium density residential to office industrial land use category, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday, and also goes along with the same item as the rezoning case 2022-15, an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 1066 Honey Creek Road from R1 to O&I to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday. And if you recall, this is for the daycare for the church that sits on the property. Item 486 and 487 also go together. It's a future land use map amendment case 2022-07, an ordinance to amend the future land use map of Rockdale County's comprehensive plan as amended so as to redesignate 9 parcels on 1716, 1726, 1736, 1980, and 1670 Lester Road, and 1630, 1632, and 1634 Farmer Road, and 1975 Sigmund Road, from high-density residential to light industrial land use category, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. Also going along with the same item is the rezoning case 2022-14 for the same pieces of property for a rezoning from R1 to M1 to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This will also be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday. And if you recall, during the last public hearing, the applicant is asked to go back through the public hearing process on both of these items.
Okay. All right, next item, please.
Item 488 is a resolution for Reconnecting Communities program, and this is submitted for a ratification.
Okay.
Item 489 is an expenditure request for Velocio for Technology Services Department. This is for the Microsoft Dynamics GP maintenance plan renewal in the amount of $21,240. And item 490 is the Rockdale County Policy Amendment for the Vehicle Assignment and Use Criteria Policy to amend Policy 2018-2-6.
Okay. All right. Very good. Commissioners, now we're down to public comment. Do you have any cards?
So, Mr. Chairman, I have no cards that were turned in for this morning.
As of yet, we've got some coming up. I
We
believe.
do? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Ms. Williams has one.
All right, well then I'll go ahead and just read the
Okay.
disclaimer. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Rutledge. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and call Ms. Williams. Come on up, Ms. Williams.
Hello.
Good morning.
First, I want to thank you guys for all the great work. There's a lot of good things going on in the county. And I also want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with Mr. Kelly. And he did come out promptly to address our Avalon concerns. And we did discover that it was above his pay grade. So you're back, right? He did give me a lot of good information. And it's coming down to, one, we want to know how to get on that 2022 agenda for funds for Avalon Parkway. That's one of the things we want to discuss with you guys, because I really believe that Avalon Parkway is a county road, and I don't know how it became a part of Old Salem Township common areas, but it is truly not a common area to our community. It is a county road. Our community in property taxes over the last 20-some years has contributed more than $8 million to the county funds. Our road, that Avalon, that county road, has not been paved in 20 years. Mr. Kelly told me that it's usually a 25-year span before we pave a road, so I get it. Our homeowners would like to at least get the arrow markings repainted so that they'll be more visible, because we've aged over those 20 years, and so we really can't see it. And we would also like to have some discussions about funding for that county road. We definitely don't want the county to take care of Old Salem Township. However, our citizens have paid roughly $50,000 a year to maintain that area, and it's open to the public. And so we feel like it would be fair and in the best interest of our homeowners that we lighten that burden. We want some money.
Okay. So let me say this, Ms. Williams. First of all, thank you for your compliment, and thank you for working with Director Kelly. What I want to encourage you to do at this point, since you're bringing it back to us, go ahead and reach out to Ms. Lee in my office, and let's schedule a meeting. What we'll do, Commissioners, is meet with Director Kelly, and we'll meet with Mr. Williams and members of her HOA to determine where we can find a common ground. There's a lot of validity to what she's saying about the fact that Avalon is a county road. However, there is an agreement between the HOA and the township over there, and she spoke to that point. What we want to do is make sure that from a legal standpoint, the county can get involved and do what it needs to do. As we do realize, Avalon runs right through that section of Salem Road and New Ellington in that area over there. So let's sit and talk and meet. Let's find a common ground and find out what we can do. One of the things that we like to do in internal operations is under promise and over deliver. So what we'll do is sit and meet. I encourage you to reach out to Ms. Lee. Her number is, if you have a pen, I'll go ahead and give it to you so you can sit set up a meeting and we can schedule an opportunity to meet and put our heads together as to what we can do. We'll focus on the can. 770-278-7003. Again, that number, because you're not the only one writing it down, 770-278-7003, and that's Ms. Lee. She serves as the executive assistant in the chairman's office. What we'll do is, I stated, we will put together a meeting with myself and Director Kelly, and we'll see what we can do to move forward to address the issue and make it work. Because what we do recognize, let me go ahead and get this out, there are multiple HOAs and communities and subdivisions throughout the county. And I can't commit to promising one thing to one particular group without being able to look at all of the facts and make sure we weigh it all out. Because as soon as we do that, particularly in this public forum, there'll be a whole bunch of other Miss Williamses standing at that podium, and the county is not in a position to do that. So I don't want to make a commitment or a promise, but I will assure you that we will certainly take a look at it, and we'll focus on CAN, what we can do. Is that all right?
And I do want to make you aware, it's a very unique situation. We're not asking for funds for our HOA. We're asking for the county to take over, to help take responsibility on this county road. We've done a great job maintaining that road, but it's not fair to those homeowners. In these meetings, I've noticed that a lot of money is being issued out for county needs. And this is a county need, and we want some money.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, and thank you for representing your HOA in the Salem Township. She does a fantastic job representing them, and she always presents so very well when she comes up each and every meeting. So thank you so much for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Next up is Ms. Corliss Turner. Come on up, Ms. Turner.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning.
I didn't have a comment, but then things I heard I wanted to just kind of touch on. The gentleman, what's his name, Mr. Hanna?
Kevin Hanna with the Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council.
See, he mentioned a couple of things. He said he wouldn't say what the medium income was here in the county, and then he also mentioned that the businesses looking to come into Rockdale County. He gave one reason what they look at, and then he said, but that's not all they look at. And then I won't use interrupted, you had a comment and he never got back to it, so I would like to know what that second thing was. So if you have a number for him, or I can get it from Commissioner Washington. Haven't said that word in a long time, have I? Anyway, I'll get it from her, because I would like to know that answer. And then the other thing, and you touched on this at the last meeting, that people making $1,400 in the affordable housing that they cannot afford, and today you said making a measly $1,400, and this is American dream is to own a home. Had you considered that when the millage rate was increased? Now, look at this scenario. I buy stock. During the pandemic, the stock I buy is in the e-commerce. So everybody was ordering. So that stock that I had, it went from X number of dollars to over $2,000 a share. If I have 10 shares, I'm making more money. I'm collecting more money, right? Same thing with my house. You had one share of my house, it increased by a certain percentage, so the revenue that you collect was more. I didn't see a need of increasing the millage rate in that measly $1,400. You also said that our county is increasing in senior citizens, and I don't think that was considered. So it's like you say this over here, but then over here you do this to the same people that's collecting a measly. But the measly, you want to be able to afford housing. Those measly over here purchase a house that they could afford. Now it's becoming unaffordable. How are you going to assist them? And the last thing is I wanted to congratulate, the other thing that's real important to me when Jennifer is reading the different items, and it says grant funded. If you all could kind of say what that grant is, that would be very helpful to me, where the grants are coming from. And that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Turner, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Okay, that concludes public comment. We're now going to board comment. Commissioner Washington.
First and foremost, I think that I would like to take 5 seconds of silence for the victims of Hurricane Ian, the largest hurricane disaster in our lifetimes, and I think that we need to pay homage to the lives that were lost, the first responders that are down there with their lives on the line, protecting people. So if we can get 5 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very, very, very excited about the leadership program that we just, the Emerging Leaders program. That is excellent. You all know I did my little leadership development, and one of the things that Colin Powell says is that you always should invest in your people, send them to training, as much development as possible, because you never know who is going to be the person that's going to step up and take full advantage of all of those opportunities. And the young man that was from the water department, I knew everybody else, but I had never seen him before. I didn't know Victor, and he seemed so proud of the opportunity to go through that program and to do something that he might not, or show some virtues that he might not have otherwise had the opportunity to do. So I thank you all for putting that together, board. Thank you all for giving those employees the opportunity to go through that. And I want to see more employees apply. I want to see this bigger, because all of us have leadership in us, and sometimes it just needs to be developed and nurtured. Once again, congratulations to C.G. Baker for being Employee of the Year. And my final comment is thank you again, Kevin Hanna, for coming and shedding light on Rockdale County's economic development. We're different in Rockdale County because we do have the Joint Development Council, but we also have a development authority that operates a little bit different. But Kevin acts as like the execution arm of it. He doesn't work for specifically the authority, but he votes for the city, the county, and the authority. So Rockdale County is different, very unique, but I'm glad that we do it that way, because like I always say, we have one county, one city, one school system. We rise and fall together, and we need each other to move each other forward. So that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
Until Commissioner Williams says something to remind me.
So, I really did enjoy Kevin Hanna's presentation this morning. He brought out details, he educated us, he educated the public about what's going on behind the scenes. And I had a nice conversation yesterday with Rita Braswell, who's new in that capacity. And of course, workforce development at the school level is really important, which kind of leads into my comments about our employee leadership development program, where it doesn't matter who you are, it's important to be involved in lifelong learning. And as a teacher, that's what I would usually talk to my students. You've got to be learning all the time, because you will never learn everything. And it doesn't matter if you live to be 150. You would never learn everything there is to know. And so, in response to your comments about, and the chairman's comments about, leadership development and needing people in place as people leave and retire, nothing could be more important. So I'm really happy about that. Although I did wonder if Sean put together the slideshow for them.
I think that you saying no, he didn't? No.
Oh, he did not? Oh, okay. Well, it was a good slideshow. I would like to have, in response to Ms. Turner's comment about the grants, and I think we've talked about this, having a report on, that shows the grants we've received and the grants we've applied for, and how the impact that makes in our county. It's millions of dollars that we use in grant funds to provide services and carry out the needs of our county.
And Commissioner, if you're okay, I think Chief Cave is probably better prepared to give a quick update. That was in one of our leadership meetings on yesterday, to provide the citizens with the rundown. Chief?
Yes, sir. So, Commissioners, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've had some very good dialogue with Executive Director Lewis in our finance department, and he is actually in the process of preparing a summary overview of how many grants Rockdale County has received in the last 12 months, and then further beyond into a 24-month period, but then also showcasing how many grants we've applied for, and we're currently awaiting word from either the state or federal government as to funds that may be potentially coming into Rockdale County. So by showcasing those funds, it shows how much, not only how much work our grants division has done in terms of applying and maintaining those grants throughout each calendar year, but also showing how much revenue is brought into the community from those grants.
Are we going to detail, like, the name of the grant and which sources, from federal, state, or?
Yes, ma'am, that will be included, and it'll actually be showcased in the board retreat next week, but also Director Lewis intends to show the grant funds and what it can and cannot be used for, and also the dollar amount, and possibly give some insight into the work that it takes, because once we receive the money, as commissioners know, once we receive the money, there is work that needs to take place throughout the calendar year to maintain and keep the grant and report the status of the grant, and then ultimately, in some cases, reapply for the grant and get it and to continue it. So Director Lewis is spearheading that project and should have an update for you within the next week.
So I think that will be really valuable to share.
And it won't be limited to just the BOC retreat. We're also going to have that presentation in a setting like this, because everyone won't be attending the retreat. We'll make sure that we put it out there so folks will be able to know. So thank you, Chief. Thank you.
So my last comment is, this week is Mental Illness Awareness Week. And I didn't talk about it in September, but September was Suicide Awareness Week, and that all connects in with the mental illness week recognition also. And this is the week that is being recognized. Nearly 50 million Americans, adults, live with a mental health diagnosis, but only about 50% receive treatment, or less than 50% receive treatment. And there's lots of reasons people don't want to seek treatment. You know, there's reasons to think that you can manage it, or I can work through this, or it would be embarrassing, or the worst would be I don't have the funding. And that's where our Community Service Board comes into play, is they provide those mental health services for anyone, especially those with limited income and no insurance. But the pandemic has worsened the mental health crisis in the United States and increased the number of people looking for support. And so this time to be awareness is also to think about developing the employees that can provide the services. Because that is a big concern also, is having the people trained who can provide those services. So when you live with a mental health condition, there are unique challenges that come with that. And so the Mental Health America is a organization, and they have mapped out different tips on how to navigate life's challenges and that kind of thing. So I will leave you to research those yourself, but it's Mental Health America, and it's MHAnational.org is their website.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Commissioner.
I'm good.
All right,
Oh,
okay.
amazing.
Very good. We have just a couple of updates from our directors. I'm going to go right back to Director Pete because he has the answer for Commissioner Washington. Come on up, Director.
Yeah, I didn't feel right leaving here without getting an answer for you.
We appreciate that.
We're currently using 200 tons of sodium chloride to disinfect our water supply. Okay?
So that becomes an increase in.
In the price of those tons that.
Right,
So it's like
so I'm trying to calculate really.
$25 a ton.
Okay. I don't have that paper in front of me.
Thank you, Director. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Thanks for the follow-up.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
Very good, very good.
I've got the yearly cost.
Say again?
I've got the yearly cost.
You've got the yearly cost. Come on up, Ms. Malone, and she runs procurement and contracts. Don't sit there and hold the information. Come on up here with it. Let's educate.
Okay.
And tell us who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yes, I'm Tina Malone. I'm the procurement manager in the finance department. Okay, for sodium permanganate, the estimated cost per year is $139,995.
And that's what it's going to, or?
That's what it's going to.
Okay.
Right. And for sodium chloride, solar salt, it's going to be estimated $102,718.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow, see, that's, when you've got talented people on your team, she was ready. She said, I got it right here. So very good. I like to say teamwork makes the dream work. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Malone. She works in our procurement department, which is a division of our finance department. She handles all contracts and agreements coming in and out of Rockdale County. And she's been doing it for quite a number of years. She does a fantastic job. We appreciate you stepping forward this morning. Last week, we didn't get a chance to hear from our stormwater director, Director Simpkins, who is always ready. Come on up, Director Simpkins. He's always ready. We had him on the list last week to give a quick update. And he's a little long-winded too, so I'm gonna ask him to be brief this morning.
Oh, I can definitely be very brief today. But yeah, I was all prepared last week, but luckily I have the memory of an elephant. So a couple of the highlights for stormwater are some of our jobs that we've been completing. Year to date, over 15 jobs with county on-call contractors, and then another 50 jobs with our in-house crews. So, citizens have concerns about where their stormwater utility fees are going, but I always said when I was assigned to this position, when I get some pipe in the ground, these citizens will see their stormwater utility dollars at work. So I'm just very happy with the process of how we've got going with that. Other things, the stormwater utility fees have gone out on the tax bills this year. It is still a process that I've been working very closely with the tax commissioner's office on it. It's been a great team effort. There are situations that come up where impervious surfaces need to be confirmed. We have staff that goes out and confirms impervious surfaces to ensure that citizens' bills are accurate. We've been making great strides with that also. So, that's what we got going in stormwater. We're always busy, but I'm going to be brief. Any questions?
Impervious surfaces, could you explain?
Impervious surfaces are people's driveways, their driveways, which are typically made out of concrete, so they are impervious, meaning that they cannot absorb that rainwater that hits them, so it runs off, and that is what we need our county facilities to manage, that runoff. Also, their roofs are impervious surfaces. They have the asphalt shingles on them, that water hits it, runs off. So that's impervious surface. I'm trying to keep it brief. Any more questions?
So do we have a limit on, I know in the city you have to only, at least 75% of your property or 50% or something cannot be impervious. Do we have that kind of thing with the county?
What happens with us is, if you get over certain amounts of impervious surface, then you have to treat that water. You know, as far as like detention facilities or, you know, certain different types of ways to manage that over a certain amount. You have to incorporate that, and all of that is done during the site plan review process. We look at that to see how much impervious surface is going to be on a lot, and if it's over a certain amount, then, you know, there are certain measures that they have to put in place to manage that additional water.
Both those very two good questions from Commissioner Washington and Williams. I do want to point out one of the things that Director Simpkins said in his report, that our internal in-house crews have done a tremendous amount more work than what they, so hats off for turning our internal crews around, because we had a very, if y'all remember, Stormwater had a very small group of employees to go out and cover the entire county. We've been able to bring on some new folks and increase the number of crews that we have addressing the stormwater issue in Rockdale County alone. So thank you for your leadership, and to your crews that are out in the fields throughout the county doing the work that it's doing. And thank you for that education piece about impervious surfaces. So we certainly do appreciate that. Let's give stormwater a round of applause.
Thank you.
Keeping up with utilities, we're going to ask that our RDOT director come on up. Director Kelly is the Director of Transportation, and he has an exciting update for us as well, coming out of transportation this morning. Director.
Commissioners, Chairman, good morning.
Okay, use that big voice now. Come on, lean over in the mic so they can hear you and speak up.
First off, I'd like to, because I know we have something on the slide here, but first off, I want to start with Grenade Road. Most of the curb and gutters been installed. We're starting to lay out the deceleration lane for Lockenville subdivision, and then that'll allow us to complete the multi-use path out there at Grenade.
So because what you said doesn't coincide with what's on the screen, you started with the Grenade Road project, sidewalk project that goes to Heritage High School.
Correct.
So that we can take our young people off of that dangerous road of the Grenade Road. So slow it down, just give us that again, because folks are looking at the screen when you were talking about Grenade Road. The screen talks about Rock Bridge and Capri. Go back to that. I won't miss over what we're doing out there for the young people on Grenade Road.
So again, at Grenade Road, we have all the curb and gutter in and installed. We're starting to lay out and do our paving operations for the deceleration lane, which is going to be right there in front of Lockenville subdivision. And then finally, that'll allow us to finish up the multi-use path for the whole project.
That's good news. Yes, sir. All right.
Next up, updates on SPLOST. The next 3 subdivisions we're going to be targeting: Willow Creek, Allen's Landing, and Cedar Grove subdivisions as part of our SPLOST rehabilitation for the rehab for the subdivisions. And then lastly, we'll finish with Lake Capri, because that's the big one. So what we have here, we're about 50% complete with the project. We just completed the H-piles, driving the H-piles for the foundations.
Now what's H-piles?
So you see the I-beams a lot of times that you see, the metal steel I-beams, huge, looks like an eye. We drive those into the ground. Those we set our foundations on for the beam members. And that's how we set the bridge up.
Stabilize the bridge.
Stabilize the bridge for pedestrians and cars. So that's the support structure for the deck. That's going to be poured this week. They're actually framing it as we speak. So I want to get some pictures of that, and we'll definitely have those ready for our summit. The project, of course, is about 1.8. The demolition is already completed. That was completed in September. New bridge. Actually have some news I just got just now as I was sitting. We're doing our inspection, and we're looking to get that. The beams are complete. We're going to do our inspection, try to get done this week, and those will be shipped up as soon as we're done with those. They'll be stamped and shipped up. So we're going to take a little bit of time out and go take a look at that. Can I get the next slide, please? So those H-piles, this is a video of progress. I know this has been a big deal for the community, and I think, Sean, if you could get the play button for me. we drive those piles in, that's just giving you the piles are about 40 feet long, and we drive them into refusal to whenever they stop. That means hit bedrock or how far we can get them in. And they're roughly about 25 feet deep now. So that's some of the tool things that I like to say. I nerd out, but you get to see those at work, and you can see things happening. So that's where we are right now. Do you have any questions?
Well, we appreciate that education, and this speaks volumes as to why it has taken so long to not repair the bridge, but replace and put a bridge that will take us beyond 50 years from now. The other thing I do want you to talk about is your upcoming Transportation Summit.
So on the 19th of October, just a few days away, we are having a Transportation Summit. This will be highlighting past, present, and future. So the projects that we have just completed, the ones that we have on deck that are in the design process or just getting ready to come out, and then the future ones that we're targeting. So we have lots of new and interesting things happening in Rockdale, and we're looking to provide those as a picture into where we're going, kind of a view into the direction of Transportation Department here in Rockdale County.
And while Director Keller is up, I want Director Rutledge just to give a quick history as to why we do the Transportation Summit. I think, Director Rutledge, this is our 6th summit.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, we started several years ago, and the purpose of the Transportation Summit is to bring together all of our transportation partners, whether it's the local staffers we have on the ground here through the RDOT department, the city, the county, the state, the federal. So we have the DOT from the state level and from the federal level attend, our congressional delegation, our state delegation, because it takes all of these people together in one room to watch the projects that we have, the needs that we have, whether it was the fencing along I-20, the bridge we didn't think we would ever get done, the Courtesy Parkway, and we've made lots of progress just by getting everybody in the same room. We've gotten them on buses before and physically drove them around to look at the projects, but now we've done it for, I think it is the 6th year, and so they're familiar with it, they're used to it, they know our needs, our communication is there, the relationships that we have built, they know Rockdale is here, whether we're sitting at the ARC table or DOT or whatever bureaucratic alphabetic soup we have to get with. It's been working, and we've seen that dial move on those project lines, and people look forward to it now. You mentioned our Transportation Summit, and whether we're sitting in a congressional office or just at the city of Conyers, they know what it is.
And so she's right. We started with a Transportation Summit here in Rockdale County 6 years ago. It gives us not only, we set our own stage, and we invite all of the players that she mentioned to come out and see Rockdale County, what's happening with all of our transportation projects. We knew in 2017 we didn't want Rockdale to fall behind the 8 ball or fall in the cracks. And when you talk about the federal players and the state players, there's 159 counties in the state of Georgia alone. And if we don't raise our hand and sit at the table and make some noise, we probably are going to get overlooked. So we created our own stage. We bring in all of the big players from GDOT, from the federal government, and all of the local players, which includes the city mayor. We host and highlight this summit with the commissioners, our state delegation, and all of the other players so that we can make sure that we stay on the radar locally, state level, and federal, so that we can get the funding we need to do all of these projects. We're so far ahead with Courtesy Parkway, a project that has been talked about in this county for over 30 years. We're way ahead of the game, and it looked like you might be driving across that bridge come 2026. Yes. So we're way ahead of the 8 ball on that in terms of that particular project. But when we think about the depth and what it takes from an engineering standpoint with the Rockbridge Road Bridge, I appreciate the video and the noise that it was making, and you're talking about 25 feet down to the surface of that's important, which will take us 50 years and beyond. These things take time. Boy, guess what else? They cost money. But having those relationships, by having this summit, while hosting when we started doing this, they said, we don't go to, no one else does this. Rockdale has become a pilot county for this transportation summit. We've been doing it for 6 years. It's a big deal. We make sure they don't forget us and they come to Rockdale County. We need the money to continue to come. All roads lead to Rockdale County on October the 19th as we host our 6th annual transportation summit. Let's give Director Kelly a round of applause. Well, you know, we never want to leave out all of the wonderful things that's happening. People talk about arts and culture, entertainment all the time in Rockdale County. We had a wonderful culmination to our summer concert series, but Parks and Recreation has a surprise for us coming up on November the 6th. He may have a couple other things in his hat, but we'll highlight that one. Come on up, Director Redmond. Tell us about what's happening and what's coming up as we go into this beautiful, beautiful fall season.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, Madam Commissioners. As the Chairman just said, we do have an autumn fall festival coming up. Previously in the past, prior to COVID, we did Oktoberfest. So we wanted to kind of rebrand Oktoberfest, so we went along with the fall festival. It's going to be a special day. It is November 6th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a different program. It's something for everyone, we like to say. So you will have food, music, face painters, stilt walkers, kids zone, games, and more. There will be a free concert. The band performing will be Grits and Jelly Butter. They will perform from 3 to 5 p.m. And then there will be a bonfire for the teens. We've done the bonfire in the past, and it was a big hit. It was a lot of teens out at the facility at Parker Road where this would be held, and they really enjoyed it. During this time, we get a chance to acknowledge all the sports teams. You know, we only have 3 high schools in Rockdale, so what better way to bring them together to fellowship and interact with each other in a healthy environment, healthy way. So you get a chance to acknowledge the sports teams that are there and get a chance for kids to come out. And I must say, I've spoken to several people, parents, about programming, and I had this one lady say, it's nothing to do in Rockdale besides go to Chuck E. Cheese. And I mean, she said that to my face. And I took it a little personal. Then after I went back and, thought about what she said, I'm like, well, she has somewhat of a point. And she's speaking of things, not so much programming or the athletics side of it. She's speaking of things just to come out and do for free in a community, just to be able to get out into the community. So that's something that Parks and Recreation is working on very hard, and we have some more programming and good ideas coming up. Next week I'll do another presentation that will kind of lead into us having more things to do in the community. So
very good. Thank you, Director Redmond, and thank you to the park. Let's give them a round of applause. Parks and Rec, they do a wonderful job all across the county and all of our various parks. If you didn't know, we opened up a brand new second dog park, and it's centrally located over at Johnson Park. It's called the Paw Park. And if you've got pooches and dogs, and we encourage you to get your dog. This is some beautiful fall season that we're in. This weather, God has blessed us with some beautiful weather. I want to call up Chief McDaniel. She's representing the fire department. She's always ready, and she's got a pink on representing breast cancer awareness, and give us a quick update, Chief, as to what's happening at the fire department as we're moving forward throughout this season.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners. Like my pink, looking dashing, correct? So, as you know, last week, thank you to you all with the support of talent management and finance for increasing our operational staff. Rockdale County Fire Rescue hasn't seen an increase of any kind since 2009, and that's when they got Station 9. But Rockdale County, as I stated, has continuously grown over the past 10 years. So the addition of the new 36 firefighters is going to enhance our operations. And more importantly, we are hoping to receive our first responder unit with transport capabilities next week. So the addition of those 36 firefighters will allow us to not only staff all our current apparatus, but to staff that piece of equipment as well every day. So that's really huge. We currently are already in the hiring process. We have 39 applicants that we are screening through right now. We do have a recruit class of 14 that we're looking to put into the stations around November, right before the holidays, so that's going to really help staffing. As you may know, with Station 8, sometimes that's centrally located. We need to increase staffing at another location. We would close down that and issue those personnel to other areas. The addition of the 14 coming out and the addition of the 36 will put us in a position we will not have to do that anymore. So we're very excited about that.
Chief, we appreciate the update. I want to go back to something you said, because I think the citizens, most of the time, they don't know you guys deliver such quality service, they don't pay attention. You made mention again this week about the shutting down, the temporary closing of Station 8, which is centrally located in the heart of Old Town Conyers. Talk about what this 36 and now these 39 applicants that you have, again, talk about how that's going to prevent us from having to shut down any fire station in Rockdale County.
Well, although we have 9 stations, we have more equipment than that. We have, of course, engines, we have ladders, we have our hazmat units, and soon we will have our medical first responder units with transport capabilities. So, as I said, NFPA Standard 1710 recommends that there should be 4 personnel per each piece of equipment. Early in the year, maybe last year, we were operating with 2, and I said, we're not doing that. We're just not going to do it. It's not safe. You have 1 person driving, who's going to go in the fire? It's 2 in, 2 out.
Right.
So mandate that we're going to have 3 people per piece of equipment every day. Sometimes that means we have to close down a piece of equipment. It is better to close down and staff 1 piece of equipment adequately, as opposed to, as I talked about once before, on a single-family house, we having to send 5 or 6 pieces of equipment. I just said we only have 9 engines. If 5 or 6 of them at your house so we can have enough people to mitigate this fire, then what happens somewhere else?
Right.
So the addition of these personnel is going to allow us to outfit all of our equipment with 4 personnel. In the event someone calls out, we still have 3. In the event another emergency happens, we have enough personnel that we can shift around to make sure that we are covering the citizens and communities of Rockdale County.
The delayed response time that gap will be closed with these transport vehicles being able to support our local ambulance service and make sure that we don't leave anybody on the side of the road or the middle of the road. As you know, many of the calls received by the fire department are not fire related. A lot of them are EMS and paramedic requests and calls due to accidents and things are happening. So talk about that,
Yes.
Chief.
2021, 73% of our calls for service were EMS. And of the remaining fire calls, trash fires, stove fires, kitchen fires, things such as that, we had a couple of major fires, but most of it was minor. Oftentimes maybe out before we arrive, and we have to check to make sure everything is good. But the majority of our calls for service are EMS related. That is your strokes, your heart attacks, people having difficulty breathing. And I want to make sure I point out that although we're receiving this unit, Rockdale County Fire Rescue is not getting into the transport business. But what we are doing is enhancing our ability to provide the best first responder service we can. We have paramedics, as you know, a few weeks ago, we brought up Bo Russell, who was running in the Peachtree Road Race, that's also a nurse. So now we'll be able to outfit our units. And in the event we respond on a cardiac arrest, we're not having to wait for national. We're able to grab that person and go and get them to the medical attention that they need.
Chief Mack, thank you so much. Thank you to the Rockdale County Fire Rescue. Give them a round of applause. Last but not least, we have Ms. Teresa. Come on up from customer service over at our water department. Come on up, Ms. Teresa. Yes, she was just checking to make sure that was the Teresa I was calling on. They do so much fine work over there in customer service in our water department. Deputy Director Jameson is not here, but give us an update as to some of the wonderful things that you all are doing over there. I know you came ready this morning. Absolutely.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. So I am not Vaughn Jameson, so do not expect that spectacular of a speech.
You're doing
he
good,
is our
though.
speaker.
He
He is our talker, right? He is our talker.
The fancy glasses.
Yeah, that's right. See, I'm not matching like he would, so. But I have definitely enjoyed being back over as a part of customer service in Rockdale Water. As you know, that's where my heart was, and I've spent a lot of years there building and changing and developing, so I still see it. It's wonderful. The department has changed, and it's good changes. I love to see that. Our website, we're working on that to get that up and running. We're putting some changes, processes, procedures in place in the department to become more efficient, to provide better service. Of course, that's always our goal. So we have a lot going on. It's been very exciting being back there and working with the field techs, and the project with the radio read meters going in has gone very well. So we've got a lot going on, busy department, and I'm very glad to be back there.
Ms. Teresa Jacobs has served in water for many, many years. She's also worked for a short time over in our planning and development department, but she went back to where her heart is, and that's over in customer service, taking care of our citizens and making sure that all of the internal processes and procedures are on point. Give it up for Teresa Jacobs. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, as we wrap this meeting up, I do just want to make mention, Commissioner Williams alluded to the fact that September was a host of different types of recognitions for the month of September. All of us know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we will be having our, what day are we having our pink out? What day is that set up for?
That will be Tuesday, October the 25th.
Tuesday, October the 25th. Commissioners, ourselves, along with all of our staff, and we encourage any of our public to come out, and that's going to come to our meeting to be decked out in their pink as we pay awareness and talk about breast cancer here in Rockdale County. We always make a big deal because it is a big deal, and October certainly is breast cancer. Go ahead, Commissioner Washington, go right ahead.
I just wanted to remind everybody that if you have not gotten your mammogram, please take this as the opportunity to do that. I've scheduled mine for this month, so everybody, I challenge you to get your mammogram, because that's what detects and saves lives. So please, please, please do that. I want everybody to text me, email me, telling me that they've made their appointment to get it done. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's very important. So we want to make sure, and thank you to all of our folks that came out. Kevin Hanna, thank you from Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council this morning. Again, hats off to all of our emerging leaders, and thank you to Talent Management for putting together a wonderful succession plan. All of our voices of Rockdale, we appreciate you come out every meeting and make sure that you have some very valid points to bring forth and give us a lot of things to think about, and to a lot of things not only think about, to really look into to get you feedback in terms of how we move Rockdale forward. I do appreciate one of the comments coming from Ms. Turner. I want to highlight this for a second. She said last week, I think it was last week, but she said that Voices of Rockdale is another vessel. And we need as many vessels as we can to carry the good word, the good message about the positive things that we're doing across Rockdale County. So we certainly appreciate Voices of Rockdale for being another vessel here in our community to make sure the right message about positive information and the things that we're doing to progressively move Rockdale forward. So thank you to Ms. Turner and all of the voices for Rockdale. Voices for Rockdale. I'm gonna make sure I get that right. Director Relish, is there any need for executive session this afternoon?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.